Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut here, Brian Galke, because I messed it up a few times. Not Galke. Anyway, we're Aces53, and if you don't understand what that is, let me explain it. And a joker was something I learned in college. ACEs stand for attitude, commitment, enthusiasm, and smile that you bring to the table in sales. That's something you normally, this was in a class of mine. They actually was a sales class. It was one of the best classes I had. And then the other thing was the ACE part, which is that joker. That was ACEs. That's the joker. Now I'm messing up. I sound like Brian. The joker is that unique ability that you have either naturally, which would be my voice because I sold by the phone, or something you've learned, like Brian teaches, facial recognition, understanding how to connect with people. That's what we are. We're Aces53. This year, we've been focusing on how to be the authority in your industry and what you can do to stand out, because it's so important. And we've been talking about knowing your perfect client, knowing everything. I think we talked about before, having your story, knowing your story. But I think today, and I think we have a joker coming on on Thursday. I almost said Friday. I'm going to talk about storytelling and other stuff, a bunch of different things, but we'll get into that in a minute. What's new with you, Brian, since you were gone so much last week?
I just got back from Secret Knock, so trying to adjust to normal again with that. And so I was gone. I flew out Monday, did a podcast with Sean and Lacey, the None of Your Business podcast, then did Secret Knock. And that was on, went Tuesday, Wednesday. Let me think. No, I flew to Vegas on Sunday, podcast Monday, went straight to the airport. After the airport landed, Secret Knock had a networking event that night. Then it was all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, and I flew home Thursday exhausted in all the right ways, though.
Right. What was the big takeaway from Secret Knock?
It's not so much a takeaway. One thing that was absolutely amazing, that is Greg's son Colt was in a horrible accident 6 months ago, if even that, where they gave a horrible diagnosis at first, like it'll be forever before he can do simple things, don't expect a whole lot. And to see him back up on stage, and, there's a little bit of loss of motor skill that he hasn't quite recovered yet. But if you didn't see that and you didn't know that he was just a little more fluid in his movement before, you'd have no idea what he went through and what they did. So they got up and they talked about, getting kind of all the years of relationships that they had. Matter of fact, I did a post about this after the event, of all the relationships that they had is basically came to fruition. They came full circle, where they got experts from around the world calling within an hour or two, like giving medical advice to the doctors there, because they're the top people in their fields. And they also added in, what some people consider woo-woo. So Eastern medicine as well as Western medicine, practitioners, healers, you name it. And to see them up on stage as two divorced people who are kick-ass co-parents is absolutely amazing to see, and to see where Colt is and to know he's only getting better and better. And they had like a unique opportunity, because they thought, okay, well, if he's gonna have to relearn things, because people, like, the prognosis that he was originally given was like, it's gonna be like literally having to go through all the grades again, kindergarten, first grade, all this. So they had different plans, like maybe we teach him multiple languages, maybe we do all these things. And here you are a few months later, and he's back up on stage. It gave me both goosebumps and makes you tear up a little bit at the exact same time.
One of the positive things, he was young that it happened.
Yes, because he was 14 years old. Just
your brain's still growing. There's so much more you can do. It's not like us old farts.
Yeah. But in typical Greg style fashion, you don't know who's going to speak, who's up. So they had Brian Bottano, the male figure skater who's in the South Park movie where they sing the song about him. And then Amber Lee Lago spoke, Brian Bogert spoke, I spoke. Then they had an astronaut speak, so they had politicians, athletes, engineers, literally astronauts. You never know what you're going to get out of Greg. And that's what makes it so much fun, on top of, because you and I have gone to him for a few years. It's like a networking coming home of people that you see once or twice a year. And it's everywhere from Larry Namer, who started E-Networks, to just drew blank on the Constant Contact, Alex Stern. Like, Greg has just surrounded himself with amazing people his entire life. And so you just come in and you never know who you're going to meet or who you're going to run back into. And it's just a lot of fun.
Well, okay. Now I want to know, what did you take away from there besides that great thing, that you just said? But there had been something you were like, okay, that's unique. I need to make sure that I remember that to make, going forward. There has to be something.
Yeah, for me, it's turned into more networking and really taking advantage of it. So instead of showing up, taking notes that I'll never use again, it was for me, it was more of, okay, how can I actually make connections with people that we build things together? And
so it's a relationship. So build
the
your
relationships with
relationship.
mine.
So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing is you took away, and actually that was from the beginning. That's what I was hearing with what you were saying with what they did, their connections
Right.
with all the different people and the relationships that you build. So it's
Yes.
important to build relationships. We talked about this at different masterminds. It's not about who on stage, who are you connecting with in the audience that you guys could do something in the future? Because that's how we connected. We connected at one of the Steve Sims events, and we've
Yes.
been doing this podcast for a while now because of that.
Right. And I'm good about getting to events. I have not been good about following up with people after events. And so that's what one of the goals is, again, going in knowing it's those relationships that they made over time, both Greg and his wife, Alin, that's what helped their kid. And imagine what we could do. And we don't have to necessarily go to that depth of needing help. But if we're not afraid to share what's going on in our lives, if they would have kept it all private, they wouldn't have gotten the help that they did.
Right.
So that willingness to be vulnerable, right? To show pictures of Colt in ICU hooked up to way more equipment than you ever want to see anybody you care about hooked up to is what led to a lot of those people reaching out to them.
So build your relationships, build the relationships at the different events. And I would say as much as we tag everything and go high level as smart tags, the smart lists.
Yeah.
You should do that with the different events you go to and keep people separated out by the events. And if you have one that they're both events that you go to, then include that in a separate, the other tag. That way you can send out separate things to everybody that you want to stay in contact with, like different newsletters and what did I learn at this event. So I know you didn't take notes this time, but you take really good notes. And if you keep track of these people, you could send notes to people and go, hey, here's the notes I took for the thing. People would start paying you for those, dude. I don't know why you don't sell those notes.
I've moved more. I was telling this to Steve the other day. I've moved more towards I attend and I don't take notes as much because before I was so focused on trying to capture everything, I wasn't paying attention to who was in the room. But you and I have been talking this last few months that speakers are great, but you also have to be networking. So there were times where it was more important for me to have a conversation than it was to listen to the speaker. And I realize that sounds rude, but remember, I'm a speaker. I don't get offended if people do it.
Damn.
If it's not just
my notes.
Yeah. It's just not. Some people do it because they go to an event and they're not going to do anything except for try and use and abuse the people in the audience. No, but if you see someone and you want to have a genuine conversation, be respectful, move it, take it outside, take it upstairs, do whatever. But it's not always about the people on the stage.
I'm sorry, it's never about the people on the stage. I know they bring people there, and that's what's important, and that's how we go to most of them. And that's why I liked when somebody else took notes. I could engage with the people.
Right.
So I used you, Brian.
Yeah, I feel so used. Brian Bogert, he's got, he let me borrow his Plod, the little AI device. And it's amazing because he already sent me notes from it. It's like, here's everything you wrote down. Here's everything. I was just like, wow, it was really cool what all it was able to push out.
Plod. Is that like a voice thing?
Yeah, it's a little AI voice recorder. So I just, I got a vest on, so I just stick it in my pocket. And then he sent me a whole write-up letter. He uses it in a really unique way. He uses it with some other tools, but as soon as he's done speaking, Plod will then send it to a newsletter generator, and he can have something to the customer that he may have to edit and read over it. But by the end of the day or by the next day, he's got a recap of his talk. What are the takeaways for the people? So he's giving them something versus just saying, okay, you paid me to be here, and then let's just move on. And that was one of the things I know we talk about a lot of using AI stuff, but there are other tools besides ChatGPT that can help you. And so I was actually thinking about this the other day. I have discovery calls with people talk about speaking at their events, you name it. I should be recording those on Plod, Plaud. And that way I can get a transcript of that to keep back. Because the problem with being a speaker is you have the conversation today about the event that's 3 months to 6 months away. I mean, I've negotiated one in December of last year for October of this year. And it's hard to remember what all you talked about and everything else. So why not use AI tools to help do that as well?
What was it called again? Plod?
Plaud. Plaud.
Okay. AI.
I can go get one if you want to see what it looks like, because I have one. I bought it when I was with Brian Bogert in Vegas last year, and I forgot to open it. But it's very small. It's like the size of a credit card, and it just listens to everything. Now, this brings up what people are going to question is like, oh, well, are you listening to everything that's going
Recording
on?
accusations. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another concern that people have with the new Ray-Ban glasses, that have Meta built into them, is where does people's privacy and things like that come into nature? And of course, you obviously have to remember, if you're recording things, turn it off when you go to the bathroom or anything else. But it's going to be interesting to see what's allowed and not allowed. When ChatGPT first came out, they're like, students can't use it because of tests and papers and all this kind of stuff. You don't really hear about that anymore.
No, because they have instructors who actually check the AI
Right.
stuff now. However,
Yes.
if you watch Follow the Kid's like, you know, you get around that. Now take it and drop it into this one, and it will
Right.
make them more human. Or you just record. What I tell people to do is just drop in your own book or something that you've written and just tell it to write it in your voice. And now you've just taken it out of the machine language kind of thing.
Right.
Look at the text I sent you. I had it create my t-shirt for Operation Firewalk.
Oh, nice.
Oh my, yeah, look at it's ready to fucking go. I can do on-demand printing. I have my my pod working on my store because I want on-demand printing for t-shirts and hats and everything, and that's what I'm like, oh my god, I'm driving these people crazy because I have them doing so many things.
Oh, Joe's been doing that for a while, but he didn't have a pod and it was a little bit clunky, a year and a half, 2 years ago. But Joe did you remember Robbie that passed away, Robbie Cornelius?
Yeah.
That we had on? Robbie would just get this crazy idea like, hey, I want to go do this. And he'd go out and create a shirt and a sticker and everything else and he had on. And that's where he's making some of his side money, was literally just creating stuff like that. It popped to his mind. It doesn't cost you anything. It's not like it was 20 years ago where you got to buy 10,000 versions of it. It's all on demand.
Yeah. No, I have so many things that I'm turning into t-shirts I've created already. I mean, when I'm on trips, like with my wife, we're walking around doing, I'm like with my phone. Okay, what about this? I created so many veteran t-shirts about getting help and no judgment. And I have different like marijuana leaves and mushrooms, all the things on these t-shirts are like, no judgment, just get help. We don't care where you get your help at. Whatever helps you is what you need to get help with. And I've so many, because I used to buy so many of these t-shirts for all these different companies that were all vet related. And I'm like, why am I doing that? I have better ideas than the things that they put out there. I'm like, it's okay. And I've come up with some stuff like things I used to say on my Helping the Brave, on my Helping the Brave podcast, things I've come up with one of the things is, if you're under fire, you call for air support. So why don't you ask for help?
Yep.
And I came up with that, and I'm like, okay, that should be a t-shirt. And I create, this was, 6 months ago on ChatGPT is different, or I should say my assistant Chad is so much different than last night. Because when you tell it to create a picture, so I've actually created a GPT to do my t-shirts with. I drop in my idea and it actually comes up with it and creates the vector file and everything else.
Have you seen this past weekend people go nuts creating their like G.I. Joe action figure?
No, I haven't seen that.
If you go onto Facebook, so ChatGPT released another new updated version where you can go in and say, this is me, upload a picture of yourself and say, now go create my G.I. Joe or Marvel action hero picture, and it'll actually do it for you.
Yeah. Well, I created, remember that graphic novel?
Yeah.
Of not of me, but of George.
Right.
And my dog, close to me, my chest is a little bit smaller in real life, but
I'm looking real fast to see if I can find when we're talking, because they were all over my feed this last week.
You used to have a great Batman of you.
That's a good point. Let me see. I know in one group it was all over it. So let me look and see if they got some here you can see. But yeah, you just go into ChatGPT and say, hey, go create my action figure. And it was just one after another after another. That's all I saw this past weekend was people creating their action figures. Of course, now I can't find a single one. If I find one later, I'll send it to you. But yeah, all I saw this weekend was people posting them to the point that people on Facebook were like, please stop creating these things. So,
well, I mean, it's just limited by what you do. But how much faster
you could go in and it would create whatever you want. So that's what obviously was cancel. So that was, he uploaded a picture of himself and it would create a little G.I. Joe action figure.
Right.
And of whoever it was, that happened to be his. But yeah, they're just hundreds of them this past weekend.
Well, there's just so much that you can do now. I mean, I actually, the question I have is at what point, because I had I created during Army Navy games some unique graphics that I shared about Army, Navy beat Army kind of thing, and the goat was freaking amazing. I sent it, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, where'd you get this?" It's like Chad, my Chad did it.
Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah,
so, I mean, again, there's so much you can do with it. My whole thing is I wanted to do a t-shirt thing and make it easy, and it is so easy with what you could do. I mean, how many logos have I created? I don't know why people put logos out that their so and so has done that they haven't dropped into Chat GPT to see if there's a way to make it better, more luxury, more this, more that.
Right. I do want to go back to second to Secret Knock.
Okay.
One of the things we didn't talk about was saying yes and figuring it out. And that's one thing we've been talking about. What can you do to stand out? What can you do? So I got a call from Sean and Lacey. I think I told you I went to their podcast on Monday, but I had already had my tickets booked to Secret Knock. And James, that produces their show, James Lewis, reached out and he's like, "Hey, we have a spot. Do you want to come out here?" And I had to pay more money, obviously change my airfare and all that kind of stuff. But why not do that? And I think so many times it's easy to go, well, I can't do this, or I've already got that, before people really dig into it and go, okay, does it make sense? Well, Sean and Lacey hired me to speak on their stage a few years ago. They've got a good podcast. I haven't seen them in a while. So was it worth it to do it? Yes. And other things fell into place. While I was in Vegas, a good friend was there. We went to a really nice steakhouse. None of that would have happened if I would have said no. And that's the whole thing is, you've talked about before, like, what are you going to have to move around to make things happen? You just say yes, and then you figure it out. Sometimes it's on your own dime. Sometimes it's on your own time, you name it. But more and more people look for reasons to say no than they do to say yes. And that's what's crazy about the world.
Yeah, I was in a Saturday night. We had our 40th Rotary anniversary, and I was there in my black suit, and I had a vest on and a white shirt too. On top of that, I was like, "Oh, I look like Brian. Oh, let me put a jacket on." Nope, I'm not Brian anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
No, Marsha didn't want me to wear the black. I normally do black on black kind of thing with the gray vest.
Yeah, I call that the John Wick attire.
Is that what that is?
Yeah,
it's more of a Johnny Cash to me.
Yeah, now it's John Wick. Yeah, he in the second one, he went all black because he was going to this affair, and it was black tie, black shirt, black vest, black jacket, and of course bulletproof. So, but yeah, it seems like more and more people are, and I'm guilty of the same thing. All the reasons I can't do something, but every time I've ever said yes, it seems to work out. And then, like, people go, "Well, should I go this?" My answer is go, because you can always leave. Now, obviously, I couldn't just leave and go to the podcast, but there were so many reasons not to go. But I think it's going to turn out to be a very good thing. Like I said, I got to hang out with a guy I don't get to see in Dallas a whole lot. He goes out, he gambles out there quite a bit. So they comped our meal at a very nice steakhouse that was out there. And so I got to go out, hang out with the guy I don't get to see, even though he lives locally. Had a nice dinner, went to bed early. I think I showed you the room. I posted.
No, I don't ever seen your room. I never want to see your room.
I was getting ready to say, I did a post about it because when I first got there, I stayed at the Venetian, and it was a baller room, and I traded in points for it. Right. So I wasn't expecting some crappy room. I opened it up, and it was like, all you can see is the rooftop. So I'm like, oh, this is a great picture of a bunch of air conditioners. But then I went back to go charge my phone at night, because I'd walked around, I played tourist, and where I ended up, it was actually a perfect view of the Sphere. And so I just had, the whole time I was charging my devices, I just sat and watched the Sphere for 30, 45 minutes. It was freaking fantastic.
Just dropped you my action figure. So last Saturday night, there was a picture of me and my wife. So I dropped it in there. It looks more like my wife than it does me. So
yeah. What's funny is I have to send this. There's a guy that I know that this looks dead on to him. He wears glasses like that.
Well, I had glasses on. I mean, it's pretty close. And I had the same suit, but they have boots on in that suit. And my wife was all in black. That looks more like her than it does me, but it's close.
You should share the screen so people know what we're looking at.
No, it's good.
I got you.
It's fine.
But anywho, now the downside of saying yes to all that stuff is, by the time I got home Thursday night, 10 o'clock, I touched the couch and was dead to the world. And I'm still playing catch up a little bit, but the other half of catch up is this past weekend, like, spring just went into full effect in Dallas. And so allergies have been driving me nuts the last few days. So
where was the Secret Knock at?
It was at a nightclub in San Diego. Greg started doing nightclubs recently. And the really cool part about it is they're set up so that there's good access walkways. You get into these hotels and they nickel and dime you over, oh, you want another 10 top? It's this much. And how many people? Oh, the food and beverage. Nightclubs, they're already going to be closed. So it's added income for them. You rent the whole venue. Everybody just went to their own places. The only thing that the venue provided was coffee. So then, but in San Diego, you can walk every single direction, like 2 blocks, and get whatever you need for food, coffee, you name it, 7-Elevens. So it was a really good venue, and it had an upstairs and downstairs so people could sit where they want. Me, I've got a stand-up desk. I don't like sitting. If I sit for more than 5 minutes, I end up changing my desk to go back up to standing. So I stood a majority of the time, walked around, talked to people. They had these little like circular lounges that were VIP lounges. So if people want to sit in what would be bottle service, that was fine. And then they had tables on the floor. So it was actually a really cool setup that they had. There was a third story rooftop.
Mm-hmm.
That was really nice. The weather was fantastic while we were out there. It was a really good venue with the weather cooperating and everything else. So good event to have gone to. And again, that one part of them walking Colt up to the top is just it gave me goosebumps. Whoa, are you under attack? That's funny.
That's the first time you've heard that.
Yeah.
And they both were in my studio, and then I guess delivery guys coming.
I got you.
I apologize for that, people.
Yeah.
That's unusual for me to have that.
So the talk that I gave on this one was about, the AI is basically taking over everything. So what are you doing to be already interesting, which is one of my AIs. And that was talking about what can you do to stand out? A lot of what you and I have talked about the last year or so. And then the other part was you have to actually be interested in other people. And so that's the actually interested is the other AI, because I just posted, or I was doing some research for a post I'm going to do, or I did, what day is today? Tuesday. So I did a post on Monday of a bunch of articles I read over this past weekend about how social media is leading to loneliness. People working from home. So depression, loneliness, and everything from social media and isolation from people is at an all-time high. And with AI being able to replace so many jobs, now more and more people are having to work from home. So if you're not working on social skills, and I know we beat this one to death, but you just can't stop talking about it. If you're not working on your social skills, you will be left behind. If you are not incorporating AI into what you do, you will be left behind.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think people don't realize how important it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally, we use AI to get rid of things that we were previously paying for. Well, guess what? People are doing that to get rid of you as well. But relationships is what will get you new business and what will keep you with existing business. And if you're not focused on that, you're going to lose big time.
I just got the email from Secret Knock about how much I missed out on.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Because you were there.
Yeah, I know. Oh, here it goes. Great success. I see it now.
Yeah. Well, some things happen.
Yeah,
I think so we talked about Secret Knock, and we talked about relationships, how important that is. It's more than ever. And you need to focus on that. Stay focused on your relationship, build them. But I can see how I think office is really important for people to connect. My problem is when I go down to the office, I waste almost 2 hours because people want to talk to me.
Right.
Man, I got a focus on what I want to do. I have a plan, and you slow me down when you want to take away time. And that's not just my people. That is other people.
Yes.
Like other companies close to my company stop you and want to talk to you. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's, a lot of them I build, I help with their clients and other stuff, but I just love working out of my home studio.
Pros and cons. Like when I used to work in an office, I didn't have a printer in my office. I would set it up that I had to go to the other side of the room to do it. And that's so I could socialize with people on the way to go get stuff. Now, was that always good? No. When I started working from home, the hardest thing was learning to focus and not get distracted by, I'll go do laundry. I'll go do this and that. But now after being home, I can't imagine going back to an office. Take away now. So my daughter goes to school 9 miles from where I live, and either takes me 15 minutes or 50 minutes because of Texas traffic. Now there's people who during the pandemic,
is that a special traffic? Texas traffic?
It's all the people who moved here from California and everywhere else.
Do they have California plates or Texas plates?
Well, there's a lot of Cali plates. I have friends who moved, like in this area of Dallas I live in. that moved to 45 minutes north with no traffic. So now some of them sit in an hour and a half to 2 hours of traffic each way each day because they never thought they'd go back to an office. You could not convince me to spend 4 hours in a car a day. Like, listen, I like podcasts and I call people when I'm on the car, but just sitting going for 2 hours, I would ram someone. I would absolutely ram someone.
Well, that's how it was for me last week when I had to go to Concord, which is only 61 miles away, but it's 2.5 plus hours because it's at 11 a.m. in the morning. And then you drive back and it's at 12 to 1 in the afternoon. And it was like, I tried to, it was a VA appointment for this certain thing. And I'm like, I need to have this moved because this doesn't work for me. Well, they cricketed me for over a week to a point where you don't have a choice. You just go and do it and they don't care. But I'm just saying, I totally cannot, there's no way I would commute.
Yeah. How there's not more road rage
there is
with all that going on is beyond me.
There's a lot of road rage.
The other thing
doesn't all get recorded.
Here's my $1 billion idea. You know how like when you drive up too fast on a car, now your car will warn you and say brakes. I think there should be a sensor in the car that if you're in the left lane and you're only going the speed limit and there's people behind you or on you, it should say gas, or get out of the way.
Yeah, I would say get the hell out of the way.
Yeah, the amount of people that drive in the slow lane, you should be able to ram those people with no charges.
We do not condone that at all. No, we do not.
No, I said you should be able to.
I don't care what Brian says. We do not. If you have any hate mail, send it to Brian at Aces53.com.
It drove me nuts. Going today, I went to go run an errand. Somebody was in the slow lane doing 55 and a 70. And I'm like, so there should be a way to press a button, hit the gas, mofo, or get out of the way. It doesn't exist, but that would be my genius invention.
There isn't that at all.
There should be, though.
But you're right. I mean, the problem is traffic is just bad. And there's no, and I'm sorry, you guys are going to get a lot more people from LA's coming, but they're buying 10 million plus. So you won't see them.
Right. Oh, what are we getting that's coming out? I just saw. Oh, we're getting a Universal Studios in North Dallas. I mean, the area that
Universal
most of the California people move to,
like a theme park or like actual studio.
No, the theme park. Then there's all kinds of stuff that's moving up there, and so it's a lot of people following California money. So it's not all bad. It helps our Dallas economy. But yeah, we're getting all kinds of like unique springs. Now there's Universal Studios. It's going to be an adventure playland. All kinds of crazy stuff that's coming out here now. That it's because so many people have moved to Dallas. But man, that traffic sucks.
But a lot of people move to Vegas, and that's why they're getting the actual studios in Vegas. They're moving there. The only problem is it's hot. Feel sorry for the people who have to hang outside the studio during the summer trying to go between places and they melt.
Yeah.
I hope everything's inside. You can close everything.
I always have that debate because we live here and it's super humid during the summers. And we did 90 days when I was married in Arizona during the hottest part of the year. I would have taken Arizona because I could still go out in the morning, drink coffee on the patio. At night, we could drink wine on the patio. Here, yes, the sun goes down, but you're still just dripping in sweat, humidity nonstop.
Yeah.
Not so much fun.
No, thank you. No, both of those don't sound good.
No.
Not at all. Sorry.
But going back to who our guest is going to be on Thursday. So it's somebody I've worked with in different forms and fashions through podcasts, in-person meetups, you name it. And she's really going to kind of exemplify a lot of what we've been talking about that people and business owners need to do to get ahead and stay ahead going forward.
Okay.
So, yeah,
and what
just saying, little teaser.
Yeah, is that the teaser?
That's the teaser.
And again, it's about, as we keep talking about, in order to do things, because I talked to a person earlier today, I had an interview with them about coming on the radio, like doing some stuff with us, because we're going to get syndicated. That means we get to own our own hour now of the show. We can put our own stuff in it. And she wanted to come on and as her company, promote different people inside of her stuff. When she was talking to me about the different businesses and how that she doesn't understand why one's doing really well and one's not doing really well, and how she came in and redid her company. They had to look at, basically they looked at who their perfect client was, and finally just that's all they want. And it's funny, this organization that she's part of, it's like they had no idea that the board had no clue what she was talking about for almost a year to 2 years about finding out who, and that's what's so important. You got to know who your perfect client is, because otherwise you're
Right.
just wasting your time and money and other people's time and money.
Exactly.
And that's you have to focus on that, period.
It's because, again, we talk about this a lot, outdated advice. Before, everything was dialing for dollars. There wasn't a way to really drill down. I mean, yes, you could put your ad in a trade magazine, or you can buy television or radio advertisements during a certain show. But there wasn't the ability like there is today. Before, it was create a product and everyone will find you. Now is you can get so sniperish with who you want to target. It's unbelievable. You can pay for the higher end version of LinkedIn, which I haven't. I need to do that. You can go into Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, and say, this is the demographic. This is the person, down to whatever characteristics you want. This is who I want this shown to. And that just didn't exist. That capability wasn't really there before.
Yeah, I don't like that whole, what you said, sniper approach. I was thinking more of a scalpel versus a Bowie knife.
Okay. Versus a chainsaw.
Yeah. Doge. Oh my God, they've ruined the chainsaw forever.
That's it. We're gonna get canceled. Oh wait, that doesn't happen anymore.
Not right now. Give it time. Yeah. They just burn you down. That's what.
There you go.
They just burn you.
Yeah.
They burn everything. All right.
And on that note,
take us out.
Yeah.
Before we burn the room.
Yep. So once again, this is Ed Parcaut and myself with Aces53 on Tuesdays. Like today, it's just Ed and I hanging out, chatting about what happened the previous week, or sometimes setting up for who we're going to have on Thursday.
Like we did today.
Yeah, we're here at 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. The best way to support us is subscribe and share with your friends. And if you have a special skill or talent, you want to be one of the Thursday Joker guests, let us know. Reach out to us. Tell us what you talk about. If it's something that we believe can help the audience, we'll have you on. So just let us know what you can help do for other people. So with that, Ed, thank you as always for being here, and we'll see you on Thursday.
My pleasure.